There we go. So if you all mute yourselves,
Yep.
and then if you want to ask a question, give me a shout. Now, the first one I'm going to tie for you tonight is the one that's on in January, 2nd of January 25. It's the old Montana Nymph. The first fly I was ever taught how to tie. So catch on your thread. Take it down to the roughly where the thorax is. You don't have to be too neat. And then using your feather, get a cockhackle, splay it out, get the tips together, line the tips, and tear them off. And then get another bunch, because they're quite fine they are. Another bunch, and tear them off. And I just dropped them all. And then match them up. There we go. Pinch and loop. And then lift it slightly. And take your tying thread down to a point, roughly between the point of the hook and the barb of the hook. Right? Yeah, that'll do. Now, yeah, micro chenille. What I do, I put it between my mouth and bare the end like that. Tie it in. You notice there's still a bit of bare under what do they call it? Under the core. Trim your waist. And if you take it underneath and then start winding, up to the thorax area. One over the top, one in front, one over the top, one in front. Now, yeah, the hackle is palmed through the thorax. So I tie it in at this point. And also tie in, do the same as you did a minute ago with the other one. Like I say, I put it in my mouth. Grip it between your teeth. And it bears the core. Tie that in. And take your tying thread up. So one over the top, one in front, one behind, one in front. And that should be nice and secure. Remove your waist. Now your hackle, if you break the back of it, all the fibres will go to the, you'll be left with a leading core. Tie that off. Remove your hackle. Wet your fingers and pull it all back. Wet your fingers again and brush everything down. That should leave you a space to pull the shell back or wing case over. And this is where I normally cut the thread. Tidy it all up and whip finish. There you go.
Nicely tied, Derek.
Everybody happy with that? Any questions? You can tie it on a shorter shank hook. And that'll catch you right. That's the first fly I was ever taught how to tie. Old boy over in Llanidless. He was standing in the middle of the river and he said, he must have seen me. He said, you interested in fly fishing? Hang on, somebody else is coming in. There we go. He said, are you interested in fly fishing? I said, I've never done it. My dad used to do it. He said, oh, I'll give you a casting lesson. So he gave me a casting lesson. He said, what are you doing this afternoon? I said, nothing really. So I'll if you're interested in fly fishing, I'll teach you how to tie a fly. And he taught me how to tie this one. The old Montana, called ruck's the fish. Now then with this, if you change the tail, instead of having the cockhackle fibres in the tail, if you put black marabou there instead, when you do the body, if you put a gold or a silver wire through it, it'll help protect it, and put a pair of dumbbell eyes at the front, it becomes a monster. And once again, up Clywedog, that has caught me a load of fish.
Derek, have you ever tried doing one with a gold bead behind the thorax?
Yeah, makes it nice and heavier. And,
Okay.
and what it does, it's because it's behind the thorax, instead of it dipping, it'll stay on an even keel like that.
Okay, thank you. Excellent.
A minute, tidy all this lot up, and I'll do the next one for you. Now the next one, I think I've tied this one before, but we'll be doing it on the 6th of February up at the Clywedog, up at the Squirrel, sorry. And when I caught a fish up at Kund, little lake at Shrewsbury, he spat out a load of leeches. And this was the pattern I designed for it, to mimic that leech. So once again, catch on your tying thread behind the eye. Half a dozen turns. Take off your waist. Now, if you get 2.5 inches of flexi-floss, I've got a little guide on my demo pack. that I can just match it and cut it. The easiest way of doing it, I normally do it in my fingers, but the easiest way of doing it, if you hold the one end, grab the other end with your hackle pliers, like that, and then, oh, Paul's joining us. Let's let Paul in. And then just give it a spin clockwise. 2, 3, and what it'll do, it'll spring back on itself. So hold the two ends together. Well, hold the one end, grab hold to the other end in your fingers. And you'll end up with a little wriggly bit like that. I'm not happy with that, so we'll do it again. There we go. Now, don't worry, it's a bit wriggly and it's spun back on itself. Doesn't matter at the moment. So take it back to the eye, your thread back to the eye, pinch and loop, and it's there. And then remove the waste. And then do exactly the same, another 2.5 inches. Pinch in your finger. Pinch the other half, the other end, sorry, in your hackle pliers. Give it a spin. 1, 2, 3. The more you spin it, the tighter it gets. Now this, you need to swap it round in with your fingers. And do exactly the same as you did a minute ago.
That'll be all right. Nom, nom, nom. And there's your plate for your bread. And if you want to pick 2 pieces of bread.
Who's making all that noise?
Am I on mute?
You can have 3.
There we go. There you go, so get that one out of the way. And the 2 waste ends, you can trim that off. Careful you don't cut your thread. If you pull it nice and tight and then trim it, it'll spring back in up to the thread. So build up a little tiny body. There you go. And once again, whip finish it. Needle. There you go. Trim your waist. Now for the breathers, I get an old piece of shoelace, and if you unwind it, there's about 5 or 6 fibers in there. You only need 1. So untwist the flexi floss. fit in your, you can use wool for this. There we go, that's one. And same at the back. Another little piece of wool for that. Now with your flexi floss, if you just left it, these little breathers would come undone. So if you pinch the end of it there and put a little dab of varnish on there, or super glue, what you don't get sticky on your fingers, that'll keep it in place. And then you just trim your breathers off. And that's a little Cound leech. I should have put more than 3 turns, because it would have been a lot neater and tighter. It would have gone like that. But that's give that body a couple of coats of varnish. You don't need to do these bits, the extended bits, just that body there. Anybody got any questions on that one?
It's all right.
Yeah, everybody happy with that? Let's chuck all this to one side. It's awkward trying to control the meeting and do the tie-in at the same time.
Derek, has Robert Phillips signed in yet?
Not today.
Oh, he has asking for the link. I just sent it to him on WhatsApp.
Yeah. Well, the link is on WhatsApp anyway.
Yeah, but he obviously couldn't find it.
Now, the next one I'm doing, this is a fly that was shown to me up at Onny-vale Fishery, up at Minsterly, up by towards Shrewsbury. And it's a little black and red buzzer. Simple to tie. Get your red tie-in thread. Catch it in behind the eye. If you hold it at a 45-degree angle, your thread will slide down, so that it should butt up to the other. It doesn't really matter too much if it doesn't, because you'll be coming back up with the thread in a minute anyway. Get down to the thorax. Remove your waist. Catching your fine silver wire. And then pull that to length. And if you hold it down the side of the fly, it'd be on your side at the moment. It's facing away from me. See these little gaps? Just run your fingernail and your thumbnail together, and it'll butt them all back up together. Keep winding your thread. Take it around. That'll do you. And then come back. You can actually spin your thread anti-clockwise, which will open it up, and the thread will lie flatter. Come back up to the thorax area. Put a little half hitch in there. But sometimes when you bump into it, it'll knocks it, doesn't it? And it loosens everything up. So start winding your wire. Close touching turns to start with. And then start opening them up. Normal job, one over the top, one in front, one over the top, one in front. Pull it at a 90-degree angle, bind it down, and then you can just helicopter it off. And then finish your red thread. You can remove your red thread now because we finished with that. Looks a bit untidy, but don't worry about it. Catch on your black thread. Remove your waist. And then build up that thorax area. A little bit more. And then once again, whip finish. Needle. Now with this particular fly, give it at least two coats of varnish. I won't do it at the moment, but what I'll do, I'll go and grab one that I tied earlier. So the whole fly, at least two coats of varnish. And in the thorax, I'd give that 3 coats. And it'll look like this. And that's the black and red buzzer. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Put them to one side. I just dropped some wire on the floor, but I'll find that in a minute. Now the next fly is one of Dr. Dave's flies, the Delbury midge. Now he designed this fly specifically for fishing at Delbury Hall. I'll get all the materials out. Check that out. And that's the fly.
Right.
Okay. Now he ties on a 16, but for demo purposes, I'm doing this on a 12. Soak in the vise, ping it. And he uses yellow thread. This one's a Vivus one, but he uses fish on ultimate tie-in thread. So catch the tie-in thread on behind the eye, couple of turns, remove your waist. Now Antron yarn, he uses fish on white ultra dry yarn, but or Temco Aerowing, anything like that. This is the stuff. So pinch and loop. And then cut it at an angle. And you can bind it down. Take your thread, build that up a little bit more, and then take your thread down and then back up. You want a nice smooth body. There we go. We can trim that. This will have two sets of breathers. Next bit is a piece of stripped quill. Now, I wet it. You can keep it in a little bowl of water by the side here, but if you wet it, it's not quite so brittle. So tie that in. Take the waste off. Now you can either use your fingers, you can use hackle pliers to wind it. I just use my fingers. So if you pull it, you can trap it on one side with your finger, so you can't see what I'm doing. But as you lift it up the other side, you can trap it with your thumb. So just keep doing that. Wind it up. Put a layer of super glue on it so that it'll bind it to it. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to get it everywhere. That'll do. So once again, one in front, one behind. and then snip off your waist and tidy that area up. Put a couple of turns in front of it and it'll help get that sticking up. Now you can use more than one feather if you wish. Dave only, I believe he only uses one. One CDC feather. Push them out the way. And get your CDC, hold it by its tip, like that, and then pull all those fibres back. Now that waist, take a few more. And that will fit on top of your, like a second breather over the top of your antron. There we go. Fold your CDC. One and a half turns I've put on there. Now these bits, don't chuck them away, because you can tear the sides off and you can use them to make up dubbing. Pull all the fibres back out the way. And then get some peacock green spectra dubbing, number 46 it is. Oh, I know, I'd forgotten. I've forgotten to put a rib. Dr. Day puts a UV rib through the over that body. Too late now, isn't it? That's what comes of trying to do everything. Never mind. Little pinch, you don't need much. And wind it on. A tiny bit more. And bring your thread to the front. And whip finish. So my apologies, guys. I should have put that UV rib over the top of the strip peacock quill. Now, if you're going to do a few of these, do the body. When you do the body, varnish that body. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do one the way it should have been done. Let's do it again. Pinch and loop. Cut it at an angle. So get the UV rib out so I don't forget it again. Tie it in. Pull it to length. And if you hold it at a 45-degree angle, your thread will slide right up against it. Just tidy that all back up again. Strip peacock quill. Tie it in. Cut off the waist. Like I said before, give it a coating of super glue.
At what point do you tie the rib in then, Derek?
After you've done the body, Adam.
Okay, yeah.
So that's your body done. Snip off your waist. Tidy it up. And then you wind your UV. Now take your UV in the opposite direction to what you tie the peacock quill. You want about 3 or 4 turns. Tie it off. So now at this stage, you give it a whip finish. remove your tying thread, and then give that body a coat of either Sally Hansen's or use some UV resin. Tie about 10 or 20, however many you're doing, and then you could catch your thread back on again. Get your CDC feather. No, I haven't shortened it. Let's shorten it. Get your CDC feather. And tie that back in. There we go. Tackle pliers. Give it one. Remove your waste. Little bits of glister or your peacock green spectre dubbing number 46. And dub it onto your tying thread. Pull it all up. And do your whip finish. Oh, Tony's joining us.
Well, what happened?
It said just didn't alternate that 10. So I've given them, and then they'll come and take a left of the hand and say, well, they've all got.
Aren't you going to put a picture of
Hang on,
yourself?
wait a minute.
And then nip it off. And there's your fly. Any questions on that, anybody?
Yeah, I've got two for you, Derek. How are you going to fish it? And would you consider putting legs on that?
No. Dave actually designed this fly
Okay.
as a midge pattern.
Right.
So that the thorax is a bit too heavy there.
Okay.
But it'll sit in the film.
Okay.
You brush the fibres up. Let me turn it towards you. Can you see that?
Yeah. You're very tidy, aren't you?
Tidy.
Yeah. It's very tidy.
I've probably got a bit of OCD. I don't know.
Well done.
What is the UV rib, Derek?
Say again, Adam.
What is the UV rib?
The UV rib is small UTC UV ice blue tinsel. You got a pen and paper, Andy? Ad? I don't think you can see it there. I've ripped a bit off. It comes on a hank, but that's what the fly ends up like. That's Dr. Dave's tying of it. So let me put all this to one side.
Sorry for joining late, Derek. Nearly forgot all tonight.
It's all right, Tony.
With all these kids trick and treating.
We haven't had anybody come here.
No way, I had a ruck all in one go.
And I got a big bag of bloody stuff for them and all.
Ah, but have you got a pumpkin outside?
No, I haven't got a pumpkin.
Ah, well, if I'm correct, you put a lighted pumpkin out, it means you accept trick and treaters.
Ah, perhaps that's why they haven't come.
Could be.
That means I got to eat all the sweets and the
yeah. That's not good.
Maltesers and all the rest of it by myself.
Yeah.
Save it till next Thursday, Derek. I'll see you then, mate.
Now the next one I'm going to tie for you, this is one of Owen's flies. Owen Trill. He designed this when he saw he weighed it out. He was struggling to catch, and he weighed it out, and he saw these little things, little brown like midges on the bulrush. So he designed this to mimic the bulrush. He's actually tied this for us. Put that to one side. Now this is brown. Owen uses brown floss. I ain't got any of that handy, so I'll be using brown thread. Few turns, take it to the thorax area. Remove your waist. Little bit of fine gold wire. Catch it in. Pull it to length. And then bind it down the shank. Like I say, if you spin your bobbin, it anti-clockwise, it'll open the thread up and you'll get a neater touching turns. It'll be a smoother body. I think that's why Owen uses floss. You take your tying thread down around the bend. Keep on going. And then wind it in touching turns, coming back up. And wind your wire same way that you wound the tying thread. Close turns to start with, and then start opening them up. Couple of turns, 90-degree bend. Helicopter off. tidy it up. Now at this stage, if you unspin your thread, in other words, turn it anti-clockwise. Let me put that there while I get some dubbing out. Owen uses rabbit dubbing for this. Hare's ear works as well, but the rabbit dubbing's a lot softer. So rest it on your finger and thumb. Open the thread. You could do a dubbing loop if you're not very happy at doing splitting the thread. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be. That'll do. Put your dubbing in. Give it a spin, clockwise, tighten it all back up. And then brush everything back. Form a neat little head. When I first saw Owen's little nymph, I thought he'd put a bead on this. And it wasn't a bead, it was the tying thread with the varnished over. Quite a nice little head. Say again? And then get your Velcro and give it a brush out. Some of the fibers that are too long, pinch them out. That's Owen's little Bullrush Nymph. I've gone a little bit too tight to the head with that. But that's caught him a rucker fish.
What size hook does Owen use, Del?
He uses a size between size 12 to size 16. He's tied them in different sizes, he has.
Cheers, mate.
Everybody happy with that?
Mm.